Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Radically Real. I'm very excited today to have Cheryl from the Homeschool How To podcast. I am super pumped about this because I've been following you for a while, and we have a similar kind of story about leaving our lives behind. So, Cheryl, tell everybody who you are and what you're up to.
Hi, Cece. Thank you for having me here. This is exciting. Yeah, so for people that have never heard of me, I was a government worker. I'm in New York. I was a government worker for 16 years, and I got kind of my whole goal was like, I just want a six-figure salary, and like in government, that's like you've made it.
Yeah, totally,
because
totally.
because you got to think about the pension too, right? There aren't many jobs with a pension, so literally that's all people talk about when you're in government work is, oh, but the pension, you'll have a pension, which is it's true.
Can anyone live on a pension?
Well, if you make six figures, and I was only halfway through my career, technically, if I was there till 55, 60 years old, yeah, if I made 120,000 by the time I retired, you would get your 60% of your three highest years averaged together. So if my three highest years are 120,000, you know, 60% of that, I mean, you're looking at like, this is bad math because I went to public school, but probably like $90,000, and after taxes, maybe $70,000 a year, every single year until I die, right? That's really good.
Yep, yep.
Even 50,000 a year until you die, because, the 401ks and stuff, you can invest and have millions and millions in there, but you're still only taking out like in hopes that it lasts till the day you die, because you don't know how long you're going to be here. So that's kind of the nice thing about the pension. It doesn't matter how long you're here. You're still getting that amount of money every single month. So that was the beauty of it. And that's why they don't exist anymore in most places.
Exactly.
But everybody talks about these pensions. So I was like geared up for turning 60, right? Like when I'm 25 years old, oh, I can't wait till I'm 60. When I'm 30 years old, can't wait till I'm 60. And it's like, once you have kids and then you start learning, you've gone down rabbit holes like I've gone down rabbit holes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just start thinking like, what are we here for? What are we doing with ourselves? What are we doing with our lives? Am I really going to just keep wishing I was 60? And then what? What am I going to do at 60? Because my kids will be grown and out of the house. They won't need me really anymore. What am I going to do with the money and the time at that point? It seems like now when I have, energy and in good health, knock on wood, and my kids need me, like that's where I should be concentrating my energies. I had a son. I put him in daycare, gave him all the shots on the CDC schedule that the pediatricians tell you to do. And at 6 months, he was going to daycare for like 10 hours a day. It was maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4 days a week. It was sad, but I didn't think about anything different because that's just what society did. And I think it was COVID for a lot of people. It woke us up to like,
Yeah.
hey, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had just had my daughter at that point. Maybe in 2022, I had my daughter, and I said, I think I'm going to start a podcast. I was talking to somebody at my son's wrestling practice, and he goes, oh, I have a podcast. And I'm like, oh, people can just do that? You don't have to get hired by anybody? You can just right, of that mindset. Like, I could never just start my own business. Like, I need someone to hire me. I have to work for the man or the woman or the government,
Yeah.
somebody else, because public school never gave me that initiative to be like, you could just do this on your own and make it yourself. So I started the podcast interviewing homeschooling families, because in the state that I live in, you have to give your child everything on the CDC schedule, that the Center for Disease Control, which it's like, why is that even who we're listening to, the Center for Disease Control? But that's I'm sure you have a government entity that's similar.
Yeah. They send us your so and so's not up to date on the
Yeah.
rip. Just throw in
So you have to in the U.S., there's, 50 states, 45 of them, you can sign a letter just saying like, hey, we are religiously opting out of this, for religious reasons. And they don't even check to see if you go to church or anything. But there's 5 states, and New York is one of them.
Well, of course, New York is one of them. Like, of course it is.
Yeah, that you have to get everything on the schedule to send your kids to school. So that was the first initial like, oh my God, we might have to homeschool. And it was like this dread, because it's like the school is right down the road from us. My husband went there. Our nieces and nephews go there. Like, it's so convenient, and we pay all these taxes for it to function and them to enroll. And it was like, man, am I gonna have to drive them to Vermont every morning? Or like, what are we going to do? And that's when I started the podcast talking to homeschooling families and being like, could I actually do this? And like, do I have to leave my job? But that just opened my eyes to so
It's
much
like a
more.
whole
And
new world.
now I kind of look at it like, thank God you have to get all of the shots in my state, or I never would have found this lifestyle. And but also I'm sad for everybody that can't homeschool and their kids have to get all the shots.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I hear you. I mean, I was the same with my first 2. My second one doesn't have as many as the first one, and then my third one has none. And I
Mhm.
think, uh, people come for you for that, and that's okay. Like, I get come at for a lot of things, especially on social media. I made a post or a story this morning, and I was like, "I get called fat and ugly every day on Instagram,
Seriously?
every day." Yeah.
'Cause your posts are wild, so people are like, what could hurt her?"
What could I say to upset her?
Yeah.
And the Bibi not Netanyahu one where he's like everyone thinks he has 6 fingers. That one because it's just like my face like popping into the screen. People are like, "Get your fat head out of the way," and
My god. So
"You're
people are like
ugly," and
people are in support of Bibi Netanyahu? Is that, like, essentially what the end result there is?
sure, and I made a video and I was like, "You can think that about me. That's like totally fine." But I was like, "Some people can't handle that, so like you need
Right.
to watch who you're speaking
You
to."
gotta have a thick skin,
You
yes.
do need to have, thick skin, and, my husband just texted me. I forgot that we had drums this morning. It's fine. Um, it's at 9, we'll just wrap up shortly after 9, and it'll be fine. Um, and I do that with their schedules. I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I scheduled this, and we also have this. Whoopsie." Anyways, yeah, people are cutthroat, and people always, have something horrible to say about you when they don't have anything good to say, and I think it can be the same can be said when you tell people that you're gonna homeschool your kids.
Mm,
And they say,
for
like,
sure.
the most fucked up things to you. And some people are like, "Good for you." Even teacher clients, like, I had clients that were, like, telling me things that were happening in the school system, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god."
The most eye-opening thing to me, was the amount of teachers that come on my podcast because I just interview homeschooling families, that's all I do. How do you
Yeah,
do it? Why did you do it?
yeah.
Why did you decide this? What does it look like day to day? And the amount of teachers that came out, like the first teacher that was like, "Hi, I was a teacher. I left the system to educate my kids at home." I was like, "Oh, this is mind-blowing." And then it was like, then another teacher came on, then another one, then another. Now I'm like, okay, it's like 50% teachers, but all of them say you don't need to be a teacher to homeschool your kids. It's just these are the people seeing exactly what's going on inside the system and are like, no, not for my kid. Bye,
There was
suckers.
teachers that were still in the school system but wouldn't put their kids in it. I
Yeah.
had.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Like, which that is crazy to me, and one of the defining moments for me was I had a client in my chair, and she's a teacher, and we're talking about, like, this shit, and, they are to assume in kindergarten, and keep in mind, in Canada, in kindergarten well, in Ontario, you start kindergarten when you're 4.
Mm,
You are to assume that these children are a they, them until they specify their pronouns.
no.
I swear to God. I swear to God.
Every time that comes up, it just pulls me back to when I was in probably third or fourth grade and you'd write a little paragraph and I put they as like trying to say the because you know how like you say the sometimes when
Yeah.
in talking. So I wrote THEY and that teacher put a big X. She goes, they is for plural. You mean the. Only use they if it is multiple people or multiple things you're talking about.
It's like,
And
how
then,
many
like,
of
so
them are ya?
every time I hear that we're like calling one person a they, and I'm like, that's not grammatically correct. And I'm not only is it not scientifically correct, but it's not grammatically correct.
Like, at all. It's like that one teacher losing her mind on you, and you have that, like, core memory now.
Yes.
I had made a post not that long ago, and people were pissed about it, and I don't care. They were I was just me, like, staring off into the distance, and I wrote, "So, like, when you say they, them, do you mean, like, multiple people?"
Mm-hmm.
People didn't like that post, but that's okay.
Multiple
Um,
personalities, maybe, but kindergarten, no, your child shouldn't be thinking anything about sex at
why are
that
you
point.
asking them that? Why does my
Right.
beautiful daughter, who's clearly a daughter, a girl,
Mm-hmm.
need to tell you that?
Yeah. And it's funny when you have little ones and they're pointing out, like, "That's a boy and that's a girl," like, they know, you know? And it's we were at an eye appointment last week. I was waiting for one of my kids to say something because the person doing my eye exam, like, the pre-stuff, glaucoma and everything, it was a transgender person, and I was waiting for my kids to say something smart. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm going in my head, what is my response gonna be? This is gonna be embarrassing. They didn't say anything, though. I was shocked. They didn't even ask after.
Was this, like, male to female or
Yes, it was a man that had on, like, girls' clothes and earrings and the hair in, like, a ponytail. Not a man bun so much like it was
well, it
trying
was
to
a
be a
man
girl.
bun, but
It
that's
was a man that
okay.
was trying to be a girl
Yeah.
ponytail, like, it very nice individual,
For sure.
but I
And
was like, "What am I
I
gonna
love to
say
think
when
that
my
not all of
child."
them are, like, radicals, because some of them aren't.
Right.
I've had a few on the podcast that are, like, have the common sense and
Yeah,
understand biological reality,
yeah.
but, like, some of these things are getting out of control when it comes to introducing it into school, and people can say all day long that it's not happening. It's fricking happening. Teachers told me these things, so now you're gaslighting me and telling me that they didn't say that? I know what they said to me.
Well, and I just had on Spencer Taylor, who created The Death of Recess, and I recommend everybody go see this film. It's on the Angel Network or Angel Studios Network. So what I did, I just paid for the month, immediately canceled. Although it is a fantastic network. They have the Tuttle twins on there and really cool
It's like I have too
documentaries.
many, like, I have to cancel one to, like,
Right.
get another one.
But, like, yes, but I did it for 1 month. It was like $8.99. Because think of how much does it cost to go to the movies? So I'm like, well, this
Oh
is still
god, it's like
cheaper than.
$100.
Right.
Yeah.
So his film, The Death of Recess, oh my God, it's so eye-opening. And you can tell, like, looking at him, like, he would have been 20 years ago one of those liberals, like, but he sees what's going on. And so and I think he's a Christian and stuff. So, like, that changed his worldview and he researched what is going on in these schools in America, in other countries, how are places like Finland that's actually successful, has happy individuals, what's different about their education system. And he snuck into a teachers union, the NEA, National Education Association Teachers Union convention. He snuck in and recorded stuff. And they were talking about what you're saying, that we are going to um, emphasize when the children say that, they might be another gender or, kind of lead them into, well, maybe this is the thing that you need to make you happy. And we are not going to tell the parents. I mean, it was clear as day right there. It was just a remarkable film. And anybody, and this is what I say to people now when they're like, I want to homeschool, but my spouse doesn't. I'm like, you both need to watch this film. You have
That's
to.
amazing. I
If you
mean,
care about your kids at all, you will watch this film.
I am so lucky to have a husband that supports every facet of who I am. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've always been entrepreneurial. That's just who I am. Like, I've had every business idea you could think of, executed some, failed at some, and when I was like, I think I need to close my business and be a stay-at-home mom. And he's like, "Okay, like, what do we need to do?" And he knows about what's going on because obviously he's married to me and I talk about this stuff, but he was fully on board, like, yeah, we're not sending our kids to school. And my firstborn went to a Montessori for junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten, who's led by a conservative woman, and she was a client of the salon. And, she got a great foundation for learning, which was amazing. I mean, if I could have kept her in the Montessori, like, the whole time, I would have, but, like, it just, with having more kids and stuff like that, I was like, "Oh, I'm just not gonna do this." So anyways, she did do some school, but, like, people need to understand, like, you can sit here and say it's not happening. I literal clients in my chair telling me these things. I had another client that was an administrator in the office, and she was pulled into an office and said, "Listen, if a kid comes to you and they want to identify as XYZ at school, you cannot tell the parents." And she quit.
Wow.
She quit her
Good for
job.
her.
Yeah,
That's
and
bold.
and it's like you tell these stories and people ask you why and they tell you it's not happening. I go, "Well, let me tell you these real life stories of what teachers and administrators are saying," and they still don't believe you.
No, they don't.
They don't believe
They
you.
don't. But it's not like the schools are saying like, "Hey, Sally,
Yeah.
do you want to be?" They're They are disguising it as the noble cause so that if you are against it, you seem like a right-wing, neo-Nazi,
Yeah, racist, bigot, yeah,
right, that you're not
anti-Semitic, like,
accepting
yeah,
of
all of it.
anything different.
Yep.
But what they're doing is they're pulling them into things like after school programs that are supposed to be for art,
Mhm.
but in them they're grooming them to think. And even the teachers, in a lot of cases, the teachers think they're doing something noble. They think they're helping. They don't
Or
see that this agenda, there's actually funding coming in from pharmaceutical companies to change the curriculum to get your kids on medications that they will be on for the rest of their life, hormone
Mhm.
blockers, puberty blockers,
Mhm,
changing
mhm.
their gender with corrective surgery later on. And then they need all sorts of hormone. It is a lifelong drug customer when you can switch these children early on to think that they are the other gender. And the agenda, it's not like when I was getting my eyes done, I'm not looking at that person saying, "Oh, I'm not going to let you touch me."
Of course not.
I'm looking at him thinking like, damn, something must have gone wrong. Like I want to hug you. You probably are hurting somewhere. And this is like your way of coping. Even my friend, like we have a friend, best friend, he's gay. And he has told us, he's like, stuff happened to me when I was a kid by another individual. And I do think that is why I am the way I am today. Now, is that the case for everybody? No, absolutely not. But there is like people that made the decision on their own, or people that feel the way they do because that's just how their body chemistry is. And then there's the agenda by the pharmaceutical industry and the people who want to depopulate the earth. And that's where I have the problem.
Well, and then, like, you say stuff like that, and we sound like nut jobs, but
Right.
it's like, guys, this is actually what's happening. It's like knowing what we now know, especially with the things that have been released with the Epstein files and all of these things, all of these conspiracies are coming true. And for people to sit there and go, "Oh, you're still crazy," and blah, 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 it's like, are you alive? Are we
They're
on the
like,
same timeline? Because I don't think we are.
right. I know. My friends did think I was absolutely crazy when I was like, I'm quitting my government job. I'm saying goodbye to the pension. We are going to homeschool.
People thought
Like,
that about me too.
I'm like, they've got tunnels with children in them. We've got to protect the kids. My friends are like, holy crap, Cheryl, you need to like go talk to somebody.
I know,
And
it's like, I think
I
you
like
need to go
talked,
talk to someone.
I think I talked to a therapist one time. And it was like somebody that I'd gone to for years and years on other things. And I started like mentioning it and they were like, whoa. I was like, I better get out of here. These are not the people to talk to.
Yeah, they don't understand me. The thing is like now we're seeing it play out in real time, and we're seeing these things happen and come to light, and it's just like, how can you not see that this is what's happening? People that have been saying these things for years have been pointing out these things and all been called crazy, and now they're coming to light and they still think you're crazy, and it's right in frickin' front of you.
Well, I think the answer to that is that society has purposefully made us so busy that we don't have the brain capacity to even step outside the box and look
Yeah.
at the big picture.
Yeah.
Between you have to go to school every minute of, basically from the time you're 6 weeks old, you're in some form of daycare usually. And then now they've got before and after care school and that, or I'm sorry, what is it? Like a whatever. It's like preschool, but it's at the school. So now they're on these buses, they're going for the full day. And that's before even kindergarten. Then you got the kindergarten, then elementary, then middle, then high school. Then they're pushing you to go to college. Well, now you're 22 years old and in $300,000 of debt. So you have to get a
And you
job.
can't get a job.
Yeah, probably two jobs, and you're just trying to make ends meet. They've sold you credit cards so that you can buy vacations and $100 Lululemon leggings to wear, and you charge it all because they gave you this credit card, and you don't school never taught you about compound interest and how that works. So you're just swallowed up in debt, and now you can't even, when you do get married, afford a house or to have one parent stay home with the kids. And even if you can, so both parents are now working. The kids are before care, school, after care, sports, homework, and then you're sucked in by social media and Netflix and all this stuff because they've made the day so stressful and so little meaning to it that you're like, I just need to do something to feel relaxed, to let my brain relax. And that is why people don't step back and look at the big picture and that people are actually there are evil people at the top. And because
Yeah.
if you're not an evil person, you think that nobody else really is either, other than, like, the criminals that you see on, like, Dateline,
On
right?
Netflix,
But
when you binge serial killer
yeah,
documentaries, you don't
right.
realize that they're,
Those look
the
like
people at the top.
outliers.
Yeah.
Those look
Yeah.
like outliers, but in reality, no, there are people that run things that function very differently than the common folks like you and I function, and they see the world differently. And I try to, like,
Mhm.
think of it as, like, if I think that having, I don't know, cattles that, we butcher and eat, we take care of, butcher and eat, if I think that's normal, maybe somebody from another culture or another time would think that that's ridiculous. Why would you enslave an animal to butcher and eat? It's all in how the culture that you're raised in, what you find normal and not. And I think we got to look at the people running the show don't have the same culture as most of us do.
No, I mean, well, and then that's the whole thing is that, like, people think they know who's running the show,
Mm,
but they
yeah,
don't know who's running the show.
right.
And then you have people that are like, they're listening to the media, they're listening to what they're seeing on TV, and it's like we've proven that that media manipulates you. You can see it every day, and people still call you crazy. And it's like, guys, it's right in front of you. So, like, if you need to be that naive, that's okay. And you can think I'm crazy, but like one day you're gonna see, or maybe you won't. Maybe you won't.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
because 'cause I'll try to talk to, like, my sister about it, and she's just like, I don't really care because it's not gonna change my life at all." And her kids are older, they've graduated, so, yeah, maybe it doesn't, but it changed mine
me
because
too.
I would
Yeah,
have been sitting in my cubicle still just listening to other people's podcasts, which is
yeah.
still a good thing to do, but, just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, wasting my life away till I turned 60, all to do what? Because I didn't have the previous 60 years to actually find what I enjoyed doing, and my
Yeah.
kids are gone, and I barely know them. So I'm much happier knowing what I know so that I can control and I can't control everything,
No,
but
of
what I
course
can
not.
control is what goes on in our home, and what we're trying to do is just make our lifestyle healthier. Of course, we're not perfect, but,
I know,
know
of
where our
course.
food comes from, get
Yep.
outside, pretty much that's it.
Well, and yeah, and I think there's a big stigma around, oh, homeschool kids are weird and they're not socialized. It's like, you know what? My kids are always the most social. They're always the most outspoken and adventurous and all of these things and kind and stuff like that. And it's like, do you even know what your kids are, who they're hanging out with at school? What are they doing at school? Who are they spending their time with at school? And it's not to say that every kid growing up in the school system is going to be, like a freaking walking zombie because, some of us escaped. But for people to just not even acknowledge the fact that these things are indeed happening, just to me is just like, you guys are the crazy ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a much different world now too. Um, I mean, when we look at the history of the education system, what it was set up
Hmm.
for, I just
Yep.
had um Dr. Peter Gray on my podcast. I'm releasing that next week. And he wrote the book Free to Learn. And he really got into just laying out like how education used to be and then
Yeah.
how it developed and how it was initially developed to create obedient workers.
Yeah.
Was never put there to make people the best they can be.
No.
It was always to let's get them in line so that they know how to listen. They are fearful and follow direction and they do what we ask them. So that came very useful to them when the Industrial Revolution came about. And it was like, okay, let's get them used to bells, so that they know they can go right from school to the assembly line. And we haven't changed this in over 100
No.
years. And pretty much before that, it was like you educate at home.
Yes.
Kids did what they did. And they've put a persona on that like, oh, poor Jimmy, he's got to take over the farm because that's all he knows how to do. But it's like, well, listen, when we get bombed by another country or our own country, um, Jimmy's gonna know how to live and survive if he makes if he makes it. Nobody else could say that.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. No, it I know we sound like kooks, we just do. I we do. I don't care because I agree with you. Uh, but it's freaking true, and that's my whole thing. I was like, I say it to a lot of people because I get a lot of funky comments on my on my post, and I'm like, knowing what we now know, this is possible. This is possible.
Yes.
Is it
Even if
probable? Maybe not, but it's freaking possible.
all right, so say it's not a bombing, which, I mean, that is very plausible, whether it's by another country or our own, which that's been, we've seen them do horrible stuff to our own people.
Exactly.
Um, what if it's a natural disaster or or an unnatural disaster that they've
Or
designed
yeah,
to,
that they've
a
created.
hurricane, a
Yeah.
flood, a tsunami, anything. They could my husband, he works, in the trades. He's like, "Cheryl, it's like one switch they need to shut off all the lights, like, all the electricity in New York." Like, it's like, what? So you think it'd be so difficult, right? He's like, it's like one button."
Yeah, it's like,
They
and
can just
most of it comes
do
from
that.
Canada. Your energy comes from us, so we can just shut you down.
Exactly. We're so dependent on other countries. It's because we're not running things here,
No,
you know.
no, and I don't think anybody who's at the top is actually running the show.
Right,
I think they're
right.
all like being
Yes.
puppeteered and or marionettes.
1,000%,
I
yes.
it and, it sounds crazy, like I said, but again, if you just look, if you just dig a little bit, you will find that these are the things that are actually happening, and, if you have children and you want to homeschool, I just say figure it out. Find
Mm,
a way. Find a way
mhm.
to make it happen. It's a sacrifice. It is not it's a privilege, but not in the way people think that it is. We talked about this before we came on, but it's just like people think that we're just so lucky and we're so privileged and we're so this and we're so that. And it's just like, I
Yeah,
sacrifice
it's
so much to be able to do this.
yeah, like you said, selling your business, or not even selling, shutting down
I
your
shut it down.
business.
Yeah, I shut it down. I shut it down. And, like I said, we were on track to have the best year we've ever had. But to the detriment of my children,
Yeah,
nope,
right. And
nope.
even I look at it in the alternative space too. On my deathbed, am I really gonna be like, "Man, that pension was
I love
awesome,"
that pension.
or am I gonna be like, "Man, I got to see those kids through everything. We have the best connection, and I didn't I didn't miss out."
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause, like, we're not guaranteed anything here in this world except, the time that we have while we're here. So, you gotta make the most of it and find what's meaningful, and maybe for some it's not kids, that's
And that's
that
okay.
right.
You look at some of those TikToks or Instagram reels where they ask like entrepreneurs, like older entrepreneurs that like have quote unquote made it or whatever the case is, and if you could go back and change one thing, and you know what a lot of them say? Spend time with your family. Don't be out of your house so much.
Yeah, and
This
even that
doesn't matter.
right. And even that's hard because, like, we were talking about before we hit record, like, because so that I can be home, my husband does work more than
Mhm.
he normally would. So he's away all next week, and, he'll be gone Monday through Friday, and, we won't see him, the kids won't see him. But because of that, I was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna take a 4-day trip to Florida." And,
Yeah.
because there was a little bit of extra when we got our tax refund.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But,
Yeah.
but it was like, we're gonna have 4.5 quality days so that daddy can go work for 5, and it doesn't have to be that you go somewhere. It could be you go camping in the backyard. Just like, let's take everybody away from the normal and just be together and make some memories. So, there's lots of different ways that people make it work. I definitely see that on my podcast. Lots of crazy inventive ways too.
Yeah, and my husband, he's in the trades as well, and he leaves at 5:30, and most nights he's getting home at 7, and this is winter
Yeah.
hours. Like it's going to be worse in the summer.
Yeah.
Um, when you marry a concrete worker, it's just kind of what you sign up for.
Yeah.
You just know that if you ask them what time they're going to be home, they're going to say 7 and it's 9. Like
Yeah.
it's just what it is. But it's a sacrifice every single day, and I don't want. I'm sure some people like have this like glamorous homeschooling life and all of that stuff, and maybe mine will be that one day too. I mean, I'm hoping for that, but it's a sacrifice, and it's hard. Like I don't want anyone out there thinking that like, oh yeah, we just we sit around like. we sit around and sing Kumbaya and just it's our great day. And it's like, oh, like it's long days by myself trying to raise three tiny humans. One's doing school, the other two aren't yet. And like there's tears, like it's all of the things. And it's not some like, oh, they're just so privileged because like she just stays home and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not like that at all whatsoever.
Yeah. It definitely is tough. It's a lot on you, and I find, like, for myself, I wasn't prepared, um, like, no one ever we didn't ever talk about emotional regulation when we were growing up,
Mhm,
right? Now they probably
mhm.
use that as some gateway into, "Oh, you're the opposite gender." But but at the base level of just, like, knowing how to regulate your emotions, if we grew up in turmoil, that stays with you, and that's something I've realized, like, with being with my kids every day. I have a son, very loud son. Footsteps are loud. He's running everywhere. He's
Oh, I can hear mine running upstairs
yeah,
right now. I'm surprised it's not, like, coming through the mic. Yeah, I know.
always talking and wonderfully asking questions, but
Yeah.
that is a lot of mental drain on you.
Yeah.
When I worked, it was sit in your cubicle. There was probably a meeting or two during the day, but you can be in your cubicle. You can listen to headphones, have podcasts on, music playing, kind of be quiet. Go for I had 2 breaks and a lunch every day. I would walk. I would go for walks. It was definitely you and even the car ride into work, you can listen to a podcast on your car ride into work in silence. I recorded yesterday with the kids. We were coming back from roller skating. There's a
I
homeschool
saw
roller
that.
skate.
That's so cool. I
And
was like, "That is so cool."
and we're like there's a song playing and I'm trying to sing the song and they're both talking over me and I'm like, "Oh my god, we need to record this because I just want to jam out to my song and you people won't shut up."
Just be quiet so I can have a moment. I just want this moment to, like, air guitar and
And it's like, it's so funny, but still, nothing easy is ever worth it.
No.
And the things that are hard, because I am there for the times when they make these connections to things. And you know what I would say too, when everybody is crying, it's like, all right, is the curriculum, is the book work, is the textbook stuff necessary? Probably not. Unless your kid is like 15 and they're like, Mom, I want to be a scientist. And it's like, all right, let's
Now we need to,
find
like,
some
unpack
curriculum.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally, totally.
but the rest is like, well, let's read together. Let's
Yeah.
and I find I'm guilty of it too because we'll have like a math curriculum and I'll try to get him to do it and we'll have a reading curriculum. But I have become better at like if you're not feeling it, whatever. Let's do something different.
Well, and seeing where they're at. And that's the one thing I love about homeschooling is just being able to see exactly what they need. Like my first one, she's grade 2 right now, and I can see where she's struggling and I can focus on the things that she actually needs. She can do math really well. She gets it. She understands math. Her reading's not awesome. So we put the focus where it needs to be. And you watch them grow leaps and bounds. And it's like you said, when the light bulb goes off and you see them get it, you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, it's just so rewarding. It's worth more than any money coming into your household.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're just there to see those relationships with them and other kids form and
Hmm.
even that was you know, I understand that the socialization thing is a fear tactic to get people to not want to homeschool because who wants the weird kid? But, it's obviously there's so much, especially in 2026, like you can go on Facebook and find playgroups every single day in your area if you wanted to. And you'll probably find that you don't want to all the
Yeah, we
time.
don't do a ton of that. We have some kids in town that the kids really like to play with here. We live in this tiny little town in rural Manitoba, and when I say tiny, it's like you'd blink you know what I'm trying to say. I'm like half
If you
asleep,
drove
so
by and blinked, you'd miss
you'd
it.
miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But we don't do a ton outside of the house, and we just really enjoy our time. We build forts. We watch movies during the day. We do reading. We do like yeah, there is some book work that we do because I have to um, report to the province of Manitoba and let them know like what we're doing. And of course, I want to make sure like she knows how to do math and read and do like the things and understand like the world and the geography. Like if that's even real, there it's probably flat. That's a whole other episode. But the other thing I noticed, and I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm sure other homeschool parents have seen this, is is that, for instance, like my 7-year-old who's turning 8, like she's so in tune with her body. She understands like any little flicker of anything, like when they go through a growth spurt, there's that disconnect from brain to body where it feels like they can't move, but they can move, like because their body's growing so quickly, but their brain can't catch up. So she just had that. But what I was reading is that like homeschool kids are very in tune with like what's happening inside and with their emotions and with all of these like they feel every little twinge, like she was tired, so she had you know when you're tired and your eye flickers, like you get a little muscle spasm in your eye. She's just so in tune with every little thing that happens and very inquisitive, like, Mom, like, I feel this or I feel that. And of course, you're Googling everything because you want to know about them. And they say, like, homeschool kids are just more in tune with what's happening because there's less noise around them.
That's so that makes a lot of sense. Because even just
Right?
being just the amount of, like, Wi-Fi that must be in a school building with everybody having phones and all that stuff, yeah, and just the
Mhm.
noise of 30 kids in a classroom reverberating off of the walls and yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And that's like I was reading about that because she was going through these growth spurts, and I hope she's taller than me. She's got like these beautiful long legs, and I always like, oh God, please be taller than me. Um, but she's growing so quickly. But yeah, super in tune with her body and like just inquisitive about the things that like I don't know, I just think it's weird, not a lot of kids are like, "I'm feeling" and whatever she says, and I'm just like, "It's a very interesting description of what you
Yeah.
of what you've got going on." But it's interesting to read about that because it makes sense, like you're just saying, like, there's so much noise around them all the time that they don't even have a moment to listen to their body, to say, like, "I'm feeling emotional. I'm feeling like I need to lay down. I'm feeling" whatever it is that she's feeling. This is my oldest. The other 2, I'm like, "Well, I can tell you're tired. You need to lay down." But my oldest is very like, "I'm feeling this and I think I need this."
Mm,
Which is
so interesting.
it is. It really is. And like she knows her limits and of course they get past and that's when she starts getting really emotional and you're like, "Okay, you probably should have laid down an hour ago." But she's very self-aware.
Yeah, and that's probably what I was missing in my childhood.
Seriously, I think a
I
lot
am
of us.
feeling I don't know, I just burst out into screaming
Yeah, I think but
rages.
when if we told our parents how we were feeling, in the 90s or in the 80s, they'd be like, "Go outside and drink out of the hose."
Yeah, yes, we don't care
We
what
don't
you're
care.
feeling.
Yeah.
You're a child. You should be seen and not heard.
Yeah, go outside and yeah, you're fine. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm telling you that I'm not fine, but okay." That's the generation we grew up in. But yeah, it was interesting to read that just because it does make a lot of sense is that there's no outside influence, there's no noise, there's no, all of that stuff that stops them from being able to like think for themselves, listen to their bodies.
Well, and that kinda goes back to what I was saying, like, you're always told where to be and what you have to learn that it
Mhm.
takes I mean, I think it's still I'm still deschooling, and I've been talking to homeschoolers for 3 years,
Yeah.
but, like, to be like, "No, they can just learn what they want to, like, what's interesting to
Mhm.
them." The you don't you can understand that there were Incas, Aztecs, and Mayans, but you don't have to, like, do a whole chapter on it and learn the dates and take a test and
Yeah,
then have
no.
it on the final exam like that. No, you can know it existed. Does it interest you? We can go into it further. Oh, it doesn't? All right, let's move on.
Yeah, well, and they'll say and I'm sure your kids are the same or will be the same, they'll be like, "How does XYZ work?" And it's like, "Let's look that up."
Yes, and that's the coolest part
That's
about
the best
homeschooling,
part,
because that's,
yeah.
like and that's a mindset shift too.
Mhm.
Listen to their questions, even if your favorite song is on and they are bothering you with those questions. But someone told me before, write it down or put it either in your notes section of your phone or in a little box, because you can't get to every question when they ask. Jot it down, put it in the box, and then, like, on a lazy afternoon or a rainy day, take them out and
Yep.
start looking up the answers, and
Mhm.
you'd be surprised what you can do even little unit studies for. I just said to my son yesterday, and now it's the same age as your daughter. He's 7.5. He'll be 8 in July, and he is supposed to be technically in 2nd grade, but we are doing first grade reading still.
Yep.
That is fine. It does not matter whatsoever other than our egos, but once you check that, but I just said to him, "Hey, for the spring, do you wanna do a project instead of doing, like, your curriculum math and your curriculum reading? Do you wanna do a project and we'll allot you a certain amount of money to build a um, mountain biking track in our yard in the woods behind our house,
That's
and
so
I was like,
cool.
"We can research, what different ones look like, what do they have as far as jumps or stunts or whatever, so you'll learn how to research," and he'll be reading in that. You're gonna have to learn math with it anyway because we've allotted you money, and you're gonna have to budget and see how much things cost to buy for it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be learning how to build things because, like, you're gonna be building it. We will assist you, but you're gonna be the one building it, and at the end, they actually have a finished product that they're proud of, and that could be a business model for something one day.
Totally.
And it's like, I mean, there's so much learning that goes into that, and I think we don't really think about how arbitrary learning and tests seem to kids. Like, they're learning this, why? Everybody always says that, "Why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know this?" But, like, if they're doing it as it's part of a project and then they get to see the end result, it's just like growing a garden and getting to eat the fruits and vegetables
Yes,
from it.
yes,
You feel accomplished. You
yes.
feel like your time was worth something,
Yeah.
and they don't care about a test score. Most kids don't, because especially when you tell them, "Oh, it's to get into a good college." Well, what the hell you wanna go to college for? Why?
If I would push my kids into trades,
Mhm.
trades
Yeah.
or entrepreneurship. Like I didn't go to college. I, I eh, people don't understand like the exact thing that you just talked about is so much more of a better life skill
Mhm.
than sitting in a classroom and learning about that rather than learning how to do that.
Yeah.
I find it funny that if we look at college, for instance, oh, I went to school for college. I went to school for business. It's like, oh, did your professor even own a business?
Right. Yeah.
Because he probably didn't. Because I know more than him. And it's like we learn from doing. I didn't know how to run a business. I just said fucking opened one and it did really well because, you figure it out as you go. And that is I think from those experience just in my personal life, I know so much more than a student who's in business school. And it's like you just learn from doing. You learn from doing and as an entrepreneur, I think I have a one up on some people only be not because I'm better, just because, like, the mindset that you need to figure shit out as you go
Mm.
when you've grown up in a system that tries to stop you from becoming the best version of yourself,
Yeah.
essentially, is crazy, and I think when you look at it with homeschooling, I don't ram a bunch of curriculums down their throats either, a lot of the stuff that I put in the report is like I don't want to say it too much because then I might get in trouble. They learn us as humans. We learn from doing. We learn from taking action. We learn from doing the things. We learn from going to the grocery store. We learn from being outside. We learn. That's how we learn.
Yeah. And if there is something that you need to know, like if you have a business and you need to learn about marketing, we just live in this era where you can learn about marketing through an online course or videos online. The stuff that they would teach you in college about marketing, by the time you graduate college, it's not going to be
It's
relevant.
irrelevant. It's
Yeah.
irrelevant. Yeah, 100%.
Because you're no longer, like, writing emails to send to, potential clients or making commercials for the halftime show, It's like, no, you need to know what to do on Instagram or on Facebook, and that's constantly changing. The algorithms are changing, so you're trying to just stay on top of it, but definitely college is not it would set you back in something like that.
I think so too. And I think that if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of them either dropped out of high school, didn't go to college. Like there's something to be said for that. It just is, and we have been so programmed to think that that is the way. Oh, you go to school, and then you go to college, and then you get a 9 to 5 till you're 65, and that's what you do, and you don't think outside of the box. And if you think outside of the box, you're a freaking weirdo. And like so many people try to talk me out of opening my business when I opened my brick and mortar business, my salon. So many people tried to talk
Really?
me out of it. Yeah, yeah. It's just that that's just you just get a job and you go work for someone else and that's what you
Yeah.
do. Mostly my husband's family. Boy, did I prove them wrong, right?
Good for you.
And when we were talking about, like, shutting everything down, like, then there was like, "Oh, what are you thinking? What are you gonna do?" It's just like, I think we figured it out this far along in our lives, and we'll just keep figuring it out, Like, you just kinda go with it. But I think people have to see that in that system, this is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to program you, they're trying to brainwash you. It's just what it is. We're all being told the same things. If we're not being brainwashed, why are we all being told the same exact thing?
Yeah, exactly. If you just look at the classes being offered in school, none of them are, really to foster. I'm sure there's some, but I remember even like sitting down with a counselor to be like, what classes are we taking next semester? And it was like, well, that one's full. Well, you don't qualify for that one. You didn't take the prerequisite. So it's like, well, all right, well, then you tell me what I have to take, but we're going to make it seem like it was my decision based on my career goals.
Which is horseshit. Like, it is. And so my brother, he also homeschools, and he's also like me, gets into these rabbit holes, and whenever we chat, it's looking like, oh, have you seen this video? Have you seen that video? Oh, I'm gonna send you this video. But yeah, like we all get the same thing. He didn't go to college, and in fact, he had a really severe learning disability, and it actually didn't like in Canada, my mom was like, "There's something wrong with my kid. You guys are ignoring it." Like he didn't get diagnosed with his learning disability actually until we moved to New York. And
Wow.
he started ninth grade um in New York and finally got the help that he needed. So there are some good things. I don't want people to think that there aren't it's all horrible and you're damned if you send your kids to school and blah blah blah. There are some good things and he got the help that he needed, but like neither of us went to college. He has an amazing job doing he's like the director of audio video. I don't know his full title at some gated community in Florida and has an amazing job and he didn't go to frickin' college. The kid could barely read. So it's like people have this stigma that unless you do XYZ then you're a failure.
Yeah. And they don't measure happiness either. They're kind of like, oh, they have a successful business. They're making six figures, seven figures. So they're successful. But nobody ever says, like, well, success is really measured by how happy you are in life, how much you have, how fulfilled that you feel. So
And you hit the nail on the head because one of the things that people ask me like why are you closing this business? Why are you doing this? Like aren't you going to miss this? I said if the only thing that makes me happy is the money that I make, it's not enough.
mm,
And I said people wanted to know why and I said because I'm not fulfilled behind the chair anymore. I'm not fulfilled
mm,
doing this and they don't understand it because they think that success is the money and I did very well. It's not. That is not it. That ain't it. And again, I can make money and I like having more money than I have right now. It's of course I do, like but it's not everything.
hmm
So much so that I was willing to give it all up and I did.
hmm yeah, it is definitely got, you have to take a mindset shift and really look long term.
What's going to make you happy and being in school, open to close and then having 3 hours in the evening with your children,
If that.
if that. Yeah, depending on what time they go to bed. That wasn't it for us. That wasn't it for us.
Yeah, and it is such a short season. We think like, "Oh my god, could I leave my job?" Well, it's not like you have to leave it forever. They're young to where, like, they really need your assistance for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you have a couple of children, maybe it's 15 years that you're kind of pulling back and devoting some time to them. But once they're, 12, 15 years old, they're doing a lot of their education on their own. They're not like you don't bring them to a play group and they're tugging on your arm asking to be held because, they're antisocial. They need
Yeah.
mom. Like, no, you bring them somewhere and they go off and do their thing. You can sit there and do your online thing or whatever it is, drop them off and go to work. Like there's more time on the other side of it. And I am thinking in my head of Rosemary, that I had on my podcast, and she just so eloquently put it that, like, yeah, I had a huge business that or a job that I walked away from, corporate job, and homeschooled my kids. And then she had, after they were out of the house, another business, and then now she's going on to her 3rd business that she's, doing, and there's just no stopping her,
No,
and
yeah, I love
it's
that,
like
I
that
love that.
that 15 years isn't really that big of a deal to cut back on some things, cut back on some income because you're
Yeah,
gaining so much more,
well,
and
and that's the
you can't
thing.
get it back.
You don't get it back, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's like to the detriment of my own kids, I need to make this amount of money. And yeah, I was making six figures and it was awesome. We had a multiple six-figure business. It was amazing. But at what cost? At what cost? And that was always the thing. And I was willing to give it all up to be able to do this. That's why I say it's like a huge sacrifice. It's not what people think that it is. Now, the other thing is having a supportive partner. And, like I said, my husband, he supports every single crazy idea that I have. And, he knows that down the line, I'll make money again. I'll make money again. Like,
Mhm.
I'm always working towards something else. Like right now, people, this is like it's almost 9 o'clock in the morning. I got up extra early to record this. I still actually do some hair to have some money coming in. So then after this, I'm going to the salon to do a client. And then I have another recording tonight. So not only did I sacrifice my entire career, but now I sacrifice my time, a little bit of my time to build something new, connect with amazing new people, find different opportunities, like stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I'm not making any money now, but I'm working towards something.
Mm.
And that's just as good. You can use that spare time. Like for me, I have a very supportive partner. He's up there with the kids right now. I know some people's partners don't love to like spend time with their kids, which is very sad. But I can spend some of my spare time building something new, and you can do that. You just have to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of like your Netflix time. People are like, "Oh, I don't have time for this, and I don't have time for that, and I don't have time for this," but they watch Grey's Anatomy. I'm like, "There's 20 seasons of that show. You have time. Do you know
That's
what?
so true.
They have
That is
time."
so true. Yeah,
You
I
know?
get up at probably I try to get up at 5:30 every day, and that's when I do my stuff, and sure, it bleeds into the rest of our day, and I have to work on controlling, "Okay, we shut that off, and now it's time for the kids." I definitely could be better at that, but
I
we're
think
all
all of
working
us
towards something,
could.
right?
Well, I mean, I think we could all be better at, some of those things for sure. Again, none of us are perfect, I just know that I'm working towards something else. I don't know what that is yet. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to look like. I know what I want it to look like, and I just move from that place. And I think if anyone can take anything away from this episode is like if you are on the fence about homeschooling and you think you can't make it work, there's always a way.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just have to find
I'm
it.
actually coming out I'm working on a course right now, it should be out in the next, I don't know, I wanna say a week or 2, about can I work in homeschool? Like, how can you make that work?
That's
And just
amazing.
going over all the different ways that I have gathered from talking to homeschooling families for the last 3 years, and then just trying to even think outside the box and just step-by-step process on, like, how do you get from, "I want to homeschool, but I work," to, "We can actually do this. Let's give
Yeah,
it a try."
I love
So,
that. I think
yeah.
that is so amazing. So if you could leave the people listening today with one lesson, what would it be?
I think well, the number one lesson would be do not recreate school at home because 'cause you're all gonna be crying and wondering why you did this,
Yeah.
but, yeah, look long term. What is our goal? Like, what's our goal for our family? What's our goal for our children? Do you want them to be doctors or lawyers that do have to go to college? Then you would design their education towards that. Do you want to have an entrepreneur or a world traveler or somebody that just loves learning? Do you wanna have someone that's self-sufficient? I think that that's so important that school does not offer that to kids. It is a paper cookie cutter process, and that's the one gift if you homeschool that you can give to your child. What do you like? And let's gear things towards that. And I think that would be like don't compare yourself to what's going on in the school system. Your kid's not going to be reading at the same time as all the kids in school. Your kid's not going to be knowing fractions at the same time as all the kids in school. The insecurity, that's on you. You got to get over that. Put that ego aside. You're doing this for them and you probably don't need to know fractions anyway. So
Exactly. Unless you're baking something.
so I would say yeah, right, okay. So
The
maybe you do
fractions
need
are
to
on the
know some
cup.
fractions. You need to know
They're on the
some
cup.
fractions, but
No, I agree. I
um,
love that.
but yeah, I think that's what I would like put to check your ego. You're doing this different for a reason.
I love that. I love that. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up. And I'm going to be honest. They just texted me and said they need to do drums. I could talk to you all day I wish this one could have gone over. It would have been such a great
Well,
episode. So tell everyone where they can find you. I'm going to link your podcast, your socials, wherever you want people to link up with you. I'll link your course. You just let me know.
cool, cool. Thank you so much. And I'll have you on my podcast too
I would
so we
love that.
can continue the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, the Homeschool How To podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and I have a website, thehomeschoolhowto.com, and so you can find everything there. And yeah,
I
we'll link
love
it
that.
below.
Yes, awesome. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for your time this morning. I hate to be that rushy person, but I fucked up. I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow at 9. I'm like, just kidding, I can't because like my daughter has online drums at 9 every Saturday and I do it all the freaking time because I get so excited, right? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it to the end of this episode, message us. Let us know what you think. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. And if you ever need homeschooling support, my DMs are always open. I'm sure Cheryl's are always open. And we definitely want to hear from you. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.